SSMY, spells kiss my ass.
You'll either got or you haven't got style.
Sports Talk Radio. You either got or you haven't got style. Tune in weekdays here on the Armchair Quarterbacks, CBS Sports Radio. ACC football covered like no other here on the Armchair Quarterback.
Against the blitz, touchdown, Florida State. Rock Preston scores the touchdown, and now it's Bowden's decision, and he sends Mowry onto the field right away. Danny Cannell is the holder. Mowry ties it. This game is over. A 31-31 tie. A 31-31 tie.
A deep throw by Lawrence. A lot of contact. Justin Ross broke free from it. He's down in the end zone. Touchdown, Clemson. Justin Ross, a freshman wide receiver, big, rangy, and Trevor Lawrence knows, throw it up against that single coverage, give him a chance to make a play on a 50-50 ball.
If you're a fan of the ACC, pull up an armchair. You're home. Weekends in the fall just got a hell of a lot better. Saturday mornings, it's Dixie Football Nation. We talk SEC, ACC, the Big Ten, and more. As the only true Southern football kickoff show, you don't want to miss it. Saturdays, the Armchair Quarterbacks have got you covered all football season long.
There are no flags on the field. It's a miracle.
If you're looking for gifts or stuff for yourself from all teams, from all sports, it's MVP Collectibles in the St. Augustine Outlet Mall. Suite 245 across from the food court, MVP Collectibles has all 32 NFL teams, every SEC, every ACC, teams from the Big Ten, and 10 different Major League Baseball teams. That's MVP Collectibles. It's where the Armchair Quarterbacks can be found just before game day to get our man cave popping no matter what team you love.
You go to hell. You go to hell and you die. I'm going to find out who you are.
No, I don't think you can. Okay.
Armchair Quarterback Radio. We cover the world of baseball from start to finish.
Baerga is 0 for 3. Left center field. Grissom on the run. The team of the 90s has its world championship. A liner off Maggie's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
Brocious, fittingly with a throw, and the Yankees have done it again. Number 24. They are the world champions of baseball in 1998. Chance of a lifetime for Luis Gonzalez. 2-2, bottom of the ninth, game 7 of the World Series. Bases loaded. Florida, center field. The Diamondbacks are world champion. Red Sox fans have longed to hear it. The Boston Red Sox are world champions. In the air to left, well hit. Back is Craig. What a team. What a ride. The Cardinals are world champs.
Armchair.
Anyone got a stapler? Got a lot of forms, and there's a slight breeze in here.
Because paperwork is dramatic. Catch it Thursdays on Weasel before it catches you.
If dating is the game, then marriage is winning the game.
Yeah, if you're playing in the women's league.
You wouldn't believe how many guys wanted to play here. We had to beat them off with a stick. Pat Cobb wanted to play. None of us could stand a son of a when we were alive, so we told him to stick it.
It's important to remember the value of taking time for ourselves, to do the things that help us grow and explore, like learning something new. And now with the Great Courses Plus, it's never been easier to experience the joys of learning. The Great Courses Plus offers thousands of streaming videos that cover hundreds of fascinating topics, from World War II to choosing the perfect wine. You can even take a course on the U.S. government or dealing with stress and anxiety. And because the Great Courses Plus partners with world-class professors and experts, you're always receiving thoroughly vetted, high-quality content from every lecture. Plus, you can watch or listen anytime, anywhere with the Great Courses Plus app. So take a little time for you. Sign up for the Great Courses Plus today for a free month of unlimited access. Visit thegreatcoursesplus.com/radio to get started. That's thegreatcoursesplus.com/radio.
Can't be taking advice from a nun and a hippie.
By all means, seek out the supreme wisdom of the junkie philosopher.
If you can make a hit in a ball game, you can make a hit with me.
Good morning. Welcome to the payoff pitch. Sean O'Toole and Steven, Texas Trosh. Steven, how the hell are you this morning?
Doing great. Another Saturday afternoon. Got a lot of baseball going on. I'm ready for it. Let's bring it on.
We got a large early slate, which is fun. 2:00, 10-game slate. So that's usually a lot of fun as opposed to when they bust them up sometimes. I like it much more when they include, start it early and let it go late. I don't give a damn. Give me more than like 4 games to choose from every single slot. Sean, how the hell are you, sir?
Doing fantastic. A lot better than NC State this morning. We'll get to that on Monday. But Detroit's got a doubleheader today. I don't have a lot of plans. Mowed my yard yesterday, so I'm gonna be front and center.
Why are you putting yourself through that?
Casey Mize is starting the early game. I mean, that's something to watch. So,
yeah, I smell collusion in Omaha. That's what I smell. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. ESPN found a way to get their SEC babies into the tournament. Into the finals, didn't they?
Yeah,
they said,
we'll see.
Wait a minute. We can't have this nonsense. Go out there and spread something that they shouldn't be testing for anymore because everyone should be vaccinated. All right, let's move on. By the way, Aaron Nola, how about the 10 strikeouts in a row for the first time, breaking, or was he tied, or did he break Tom?
Tied Tom Seaver, yeah.
A 51-year-old record from 1970. Did it in New York, which is pretty cool. And then like only the Phillies can do, lost the damn game. So there you go.
Is Tom? It brought up a question for me, and I'll say it quickly. Is Tom Seaver the most underrated, or at least one of the 3 most underrated pitchers of all time? Because I don't hear him mentioned with Koufax, Drysdale, Gibson, but I think he's. I think
only for people older than our age.
We're in our 40s, so right, yeah, you'd have to be in your 60s to have seen him.
Right, so I feel like no one talks about him our age because he did pitch until the 1980s, but you would have had to have been really paying attention at a young age. I do remember him pitching. I just didn't realize when I saw him pitching at the time. I remember my grandfather saying, "This is one of the greatest pitches ever." Like, oh, okay, whatever.
Right, he was.
Where the hell is my Star Wars man at?
The White Sox, when they had the SOX jerseys, had him and Fisk at the same time at the end of his career, if I'm not mistaken. So I have a somewhat vivid memory of that as a Tigers fan. So it just struck me funny that every time I hear Seaver's name, I go look it up and go, God, this guy's one of the 10 greatest pitchers to ever live. And I just don't hear him in that context that much. That was all.
Yeah, I think he's one of the greats of all time. They just, because back then you really did go by wins. You had to, because you were expected to actually pitch. You weren't expected to just go out there and go 4 or 5 innings. Like, all right, buddy, come on back in. You get yourself some orange slices, and you're done for the day. Back then they're like, where the hell you think you're going? Dude, I'm exhausted. It's the 7th inning. Get your ass back out there. You got at least 2 more innings to go.
I've thrown 180 pitches. Well, you're not done yet.
And we got a double header.
No extras.
Yeah, we got a double header. We might throw you in there too. Yeah. Am I the opener? What the hell's an opener? You get your ass in the showers. All right. It's a fair question. It really is. And especially, what's the most shocking thing about that is that he pitched in the New York market.
Yep.
So you would think his name would actually be bigger. I guess because he didn't have the strikeouts that Nolan Ryan did. And I believe, and I firmly believe this, Sandy Koufax is romanticized because his career was so short. And so it's just like all the people that we lose early on, whether it's a rock star because of like a drug addiction, whatever, you romanticize the ones you lose early because he had a very short career. Because it's all about, think about what he could have done. Well, what you're not thinking about is what the tail end of his career might have looked like, So, yeah, it's a fair question. Well, let's go ahead and get diving into it. Let's start with the bargain bin this morning. What y'all got going on in the bargain bin for the fantasy baseball? As for people who haven't caught us before, it's a fantasy baseball show. We dive into the analytics. We do DFS. And we will be adding some football in the coming weeks.
So I'll get started. I'm kind of stretching the limits of the term bargain bin with my second guy, kind of pulling an audible on my batter. But my pitcher, I'm going to go with Chris Flexen really quick. Chris Flexen is someone that I think a lot of folks who play multiple leagues, I know McGee and I have talked about him a few times, have streamed a start here or there, right? The Mariners are not exactly the greatest product to watch, so you'd be forgiven if you haven't seen a lot of Mariners games. But I'm going to give you some numbers on Chris Flexen. First of all, big dude, 6'3", 250. He's 26 years old. He's part of that battery of young pitchers that they're expecting to help them contend over the next several years. It's Flexen, Logan Gilbert, Justice Sheffield, and Dunn. The interesting thing about Flexen is he's really an anomaly in today's game. He doesn't throw hard. His fastball velocity kind of maxes out about 94, 95. And it's actually been closer to 91, 93 since the sticky stuff crackdown. So that tells you something. But he walks nobody, and he's starting to pick up some traction with his strikeouts, and he's very, very lowly rostered. I checked him in ESPN. He's 26%. In Yahoo, he's about 24 to 29%. And he's a good spot starter, but someone I think you can stash if you're in a dynasty league. So just some quick advanced numbers. His walk percentage is in the top like 5th percentile of the league. He only walks 4.7% of all batters. His strikeout rate is up a little bit this year. He's at 16.6%. Actually, you would think with the sticky stuff thing, he would have struck out more people early in the year and less now. It's actually the opposite. His last 4 starts, 6 Ks, 8 Ks, 3 Ks, 6 Ks. So he's starting to work into the corners of the zone, which he's always done to right-handers, but now he's starting to do it to left-handers. He's fastball cutter primarily. He's added a changeup. His expected ERA is in the 33rd percentile. His whiff percentage is only 8%. So you're going to run, if you pick him up and you stash him, or if you pick him up and spot start him, you're running a little bit of a risk that you're going to fall backwards into one of those starts where he doesn't strike out anybody and he just catches a lot of bats, but he doesn't really get bashed. He doesn't get hit around. His home run rate's really low. His max exit velocity is only about 40%. So people aren't barreling his pitches at all. So I'm going to pass it back to you guys before I get to my hitter. What's your thoughts on Flexen? I think he's a good stash and dash guy, a spot starter. I wouldn't expect too much, but you might run into a really nice performance.
When is his next start, by the way?
Today.
Okay.
He goes today. Yeah. No. Logan Gilbert's today. He goes tomorrow.
Okay, I was about to say, I hope he's not going today. I got Gilbert in like 2 or 3 leagues.
No, it's Gilbert today, Flexen tomorrow, if my math is correct.
Yo, you're going to be the opener. God bless. Look, I mean, you put up, look, he's had 2 really good outings, the last 2 timeouts. I think the only thing you would be concerned about is 74 innings, 50 Ks, right? But
sure.
the fact that he doesn't walk a lot of people is a huge bonus. He has a sub-4 ERA. I mean, I can't find too many holes with him. What say you, Steven?
Yeah, no, I mean, the strikeout rate's a little bit concerning, but I mean, like you said, he's not walking anybody. He's not really getting hit super hard.
But he does play in a big park when he's at home. So
yes,
right.
No, I mean, yeah, like definitely worth the speculative ad. Try to just
even the other parts
spot start him in Fenway.
Right. Even in his division, he's going to have starts in Oakland, right? Oakland is, primarily a pitcher's
right.
park.
But
but
I mean, it's a serious question. Would you stream spot start him if he was in Fenway going up against that offense in that bandbox?
Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't start him against Boston or Houston. That's a big risk. If you've got better options,
a ring below that. Would you go and spot start him tomorrow in Chicago against the White Sox? It's a pretty lethal offense in its own right.
I would, just because I'm bearish on the White Sox offense, and I don't
Because
think
he's
they're
already
as
on
good
your
as people
team.
think
You would because he's already on your team and you have to start him, or you would.
they.
I'm talking
Well,
about in a fictitious league that you need a start for tomorrow, and you have him, and you have a couple other options. Would you be a little nervous because it's in Chicago and pretty darn good bats there?
I wouldn't, because that's a free swinging lineup. So
Okay.
he's gonna run into a lot of strikeouts. And like I said, he lives in the zone. He doesn't walk anybody. You know, the person I'd be most worried about him facing in that lineup, honestly, is Grandal, because lefties have hit him a little bit harder than righties, but righties really haven't.
By the way, that would be a great name for, they keep on talking about what they're going to change the Cleveland Indians to. Why don't they call them the Swingers and then put like some sexy picture on their hat?
They're going to end up naming them they're going to end up calling them the Spiders, and I'm just going to laugh. They're going to end up doing that for their minor league team. So I'm going to get to my batter really quick. I had set McGee a different name, so I apologize, but I wanted to pull an audible because I couldn't find a lot of data that supported my conclusion on my hypothesis for the original batter that I sent him. So I had a backup plan, and my backup plan is a young man by the name of Ryan Mountcastle, who's playing first base for the Baltimore Orioles.
The guy just hit 3 home runs. Okay.
No, that's okay. We'll talk about that. That's in his game logs, but actually his numbers have been very positive in the last 45 days. So if you took a flyer on Mountcastle early in the year, you might have been really disappointed in the first 6 weeks, because he was hitting 225 in the middle of May and didn't really have a lot of homers. He had about 4 homers and about 18 runs batted in. And again, Baltimore is not a lot to write home about right now. Their future is a couple years down the road when they call up Adley Rutschman and some of the pitchers they have in Double-A. But Mountcastle is, I think, a very, very underappreciated player. He's about 60% rostered on ESPN. He's a little bit higher than that on Yahoo. He's about 70. Depending on the rules of your league, he might be eligible at positions other than first base. I know in one league for me, he's eligible in the outfield as well, just based on having played out there last year. But he's primarily playing first base. Max exit velocity is in the 94th percentile. His sprint speed's really high. His barrel percentage is in the 70th percentile. He does have the 3 home run game. That's the one big outlier game that if you go through his game logs, really.
So if you're listening to this show a week ago, you're in pretty good shape. Pick him up. If you're somehow in some kind of vortex, you can go pick him up now. He's about to go off. If you heard this show after June 19th, it might be a bit of a risky stretch, because he's been I'm just looking at it right now. 5 for his last 18, not terrible, but he has not gone yard at all this week since going 3 yard. And by the way, he did it against Toronto, so I always take that as, because they have a lot of fly ball pitchers.
They do, and he's hit Toronto. The reason I'm mentioning him is he has a lot of matchups left against Toronto because they're in division. They're playing them this weekend. He has almost a 900 OPS and a 685 slugging just against Toronto, which is something to take note of. And listen, I don't know that the Rays are as good as their pitching staff performed early in the year. Glasnow's now hurt. He's still got a lot of matchups against the Yankees starting pitchers, who aside from Garrett Cole are really bad. The Red Sox have a few interesting guys, but again, they're not exactly trotting out, Whitey Ford, and the chairman of the board complex out there, in Yankeesville either. The Red Sox, a little here and there. I just really like this hitter. I was discouraged by his first 6 weeks. And again, just take out the 3 home run game. I know that was on the 19th. That's within the last 10 days. But even just taking that game out and saying he didn't do that, he's hitting at about a 320, 585 slugging, 785 OPS clip the last 6 weeks. And he's young. He's 24. So if you're in a dynasty league, get him now, because you might not be able to get him next year in the draft.
All right, Steven, what you got?
All right. One thing that everyone has been killed by this year is not having enough saves. And with Lucas Sims going on the IL, Brad Bach got the first save opportunity for Cincinnati. He's currently available in 4% of leagues in 14 innings this season.
4%?
Yeah.
He's there's no way he's owned in 96% of leagues.
I mean, no, he's only owned in 4%. My bad.
Oh, okay. I was like, what the hell am I missing? Okay. Does he double DH or something?
Hey,
why the hell don't I have on my team? All right, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good. No, just like saves are just terrible. You can never find him. But I mean, like, you basically got a free closer on waivers right now. Lucas Sims is going to be out a month. Seems like even though they got TJ Antone back, it seems like they like using him in the high leverage swing role, more the setup man. But I mean, Brad Buck, 14 innings, 18 strikeouts, left 7 walks, a little concerning, but 2.51 ERA. He has he's getting his called strike whiff rate. It's at 31%. That's the highest of his career. I mean, that Cincinnati team is like they're a good team. They're going to be in a lot of situations where they're going to be winning, a lot of possible save situations. I mean, he's shown he can do it before in Baltimore.
Got to be willing to absorb the clunker too, because with Brock, I'm just going to tell you as a guy who was on the Braves roster, he'll have some clunkers in high leverage situations. He's really built more for like the 7th inning, but if you're willing to deal with the clunker, he's not a bad ad.
Oh no! I mean, basically at this point, he's basically
fantasy
free in
baseball.
every league.
You know how baseball players are, Steven. Like a guy goes out and has one bad game and they're ready to freaking axe him and just cut him off their team. You have to expect that, hey, this guy, if he goes out 5 times, he's probably going to have 3 really good outings, 1 and 1 where you're like, what the hell just happened, right? You got to be willing to deal with that.
Oh no, I mean that is definitely a risk, especially in that Cincinnati stadium. But I mean, you get that chance for saves. You just need to take it and just hope for the best. It's not like there's many other options out there at this point.
So many jokes there. Just take it and hope for the best.
Woo!
Some Bobby Knight quotes just went through my head. All right. Same team. You're talking Luis Castillo. Are you buying or selling him?
Anybody who's been watching this show since the beginning knows that I am all in on Luis Castillo. I mean, don't call it a comeback here, but last 5 starts, 2.43 ERA, 1.04 WHIP, 24% strikeout rate is still a little bit less than what he was averaging, 27, 28 from a year or 2 ago. Walk rate is still a little bit concerning. It's at 11%, but I mean, we can only hope that comes down. I mean, he's always struggled a little bit with his command, but in those last 5 starts, he has been inducing more ground balls. He's got a lower launch angle. He's not giving up that much hard contact. And I mean, I watched him. I'm not sure if it was in these last 5 starts, but I watched him when he was pitching in Chicago against the Cubs, and he looked just as good as he had. He gave up 3 runs in the first inning, but it was a bloop, to center field, an error in the Eugenio Suarez had an error at short. There was another error in the outfield. I mean, it was like
we're going to find out today, right? Because he's going up against a pretty legit offense, especially the top half of the Braves offense. And
no. I was going to get there. Like, don't even think about playing him in DFS today.
Oh no, on that. But what I'm saying is, if you've got him year long, if he goes out there and lays a turd, I'd be really considering. If he were on my team, which I never draft Castillo because I know better. If he were on my team, I would seriously consider that if I really need to drop someone down the road, if he doesn't not go have a good day today, because he's going up against a top half of the line is pretty good, but he should be able to navigate through that offense because the bottom half is putrid, right? So we're gonna find out today if he can be had.
I mean, even if he isn't even if he doesn't go out there and dominate, or even as long as he doesn't get blown up today, that's what I'm looking for. I mean, he still has some work to do, but the upside with him is just too tantalizing. I mean, he has a top 20 upside. And you can get him for very cheap right now. I am extremely bullish on Castillo. With just
the people that have him, because it's not like he's sitting out there on the waiver. People that have him expect way too much of a trade out of him, because the people that have him drafted him thinking that he was a top tier starting pitcher, and you can argue he's not even the top 50 right now, right? So that's the problem. Is it's one thing if you've ran into a guy who's had enough. It's another thing if you have a guy who's still optimistic and he's trying to rake you over the coals and, I want this and I want that. Dude, that guy sucks, man. You're either trading him or you're not, right?
I mean, it only takes one person. Everyone's league is different. Every fantasy owner is different.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's important to
I'm
find
just-
one dumbass. I get that.
I'm just saying, like
You're
the
listening,
underlying
Doug.
signs.
Why we invite you to play every year? No, I'm joking.
I'm just saying, like the underlying signs are like saying that he's still the same pitcher he's always been, running into a little bit of bad luck just by the dip. I really think he's gonna.
You're all in on Luis Castillo, and you've given up on Garrett Cole. Heard.
I didn't give it up on him. I just didn't. I didn't think he was worthy of the number one overall pitcher.
I'm busting your balls. All right, Sean, do you have buy or sell?
Yeah, I have a really quick buy or sell. That's a good one. I like that. I am actually buying Dansby Swanson stock. Hear me out for just a second. Last 15
I think you just get lost in his eyes, man. What is your deal with Dansby Swanson? Because are you serious with him right now?
Yeah, I am. Right. So his production, again, as McGee is alluding to, can kind of come and go. I'm a little discouraged by his strikeouts, but he's curtailed his strikeouts lately a little bit better as we're getting into the season. So we get into the summer months and it gets hotter, especially in Atlanta. He is very, very good at taking the ball the opposite way. We saw it last night in Cincinnati where he took one to right center field. If he will just stop extending the zone, his chase rate is really high right now. His chase rate's in the 67th to 75th percentile, which just means he's swinging at pitches outside of the zone. He's trying to force a little bit too much, in my opinion. I am buying Dansby Swanson stock right now because I think the offense is going to get better, especially as they get a little bit healthier and it gets a little bit hotter in Atlanta. They have a huge home stretch coming up, like actually a long home stretch into July coming up before too long. So I'm buying Dansby Swanson.
If they would fire Snicker, I would buy Dansby Swanson tomorrow because I believe Snicker is the reason why Dansby Swanson struggles because Snicker puts him too far down in the batting order. So he feels like he has to go out there and be like a cleanup type hitter, right? And if they would let Dansby Swanson do Dansby Swanson things, a couple of years ago they had him in the 2-hole before he was injured, and he was phenomenal because he was seeing good pitches because you got Freddie Freeman behind you, right? And then of course someone's always on base normally, but when they put him down there at 5th or 6th, that's what makes me nervous about owning him is that he goes up and he thinks he's got to be like he's out there trying to rake it over the wall like he's Pablo Sandoval coming off the bench, right? And I don't know. That's my caveat about Dansby Swanson. I think he's a good player. I just think he's got the wrong manager.
You could be right about that. My sell is in a similar vein, but inverted a little bit. So if you drafted this guy high, expecting a lot, you've been very rewarded the last 5 to 6 games. The time to sell him is now. And that's the left fielder, the Washington Nationals, Mr. Kyle Schwarber. A week ago, his DraftKings price was $3,000. And I know because I had him in my lineup. He was $3,000 last Saturday. This Saturday, he's $4,600. He's got 5 of his last 6 games over 20 points in DFS. He's had some huge numbers in the last week. But Schwarber has always done this. If you held on to him, if you're behind in your league, if you're wanting to make a trade or need a pitcher, you are never, ever, ever going to have higher value on him than he has this very second. Sell him now, because I promise you, he isn't going to keep hitting like 1961 Roger Maris for the next 6 weeks. This is a bubble, and Schwarber has done this his whole career. But if you got him, sell him now. So buy Dansby, sell Schwarbs.
Like you took the words right out of my mouth there. Like I was getting ready to talk about Schwarber. He is a 100% biggest sell you could ever imagine in your life. I mean, he's got 12 home runs in his last 6. 12 home runs in the last 2 weeks. That's 6 more than like anyone else in the league. He's had 9 in the last 6 games. He's over that span, he's leading the league in ISO, WOBA, slugging percentage, WRC plus. All the Statcast and expected numbers back it up, but.
But what do you think that you can get for him? That's the question. So when you say sell Schwarber, what do you think you can get for him? Because don't you believe that most people in your league are going to have a similar feel of I've got to see this long term before I go out there and buy for him. So when you're buying someone, you're selling someone. Way I'm looking at it is what the hell can you get for him? Is it worth what you're going to get back?
I think you can get a second or third starter for him. Again, it depends on the constructs of your league, but if you've got someone out there who's a little discouraged by Ian Anderson's last start, or the fact that Kyle Gibson doesn't ever get wins, although he's, in my opinion, a top 15 pitcher.
Well, he won't be a Ranger for much longer, so don't worry about that.
Exactly. He ain't going to be a Ranger for much longer. He's going to be in Atlanta or in Los Angeles or in San Francisco. He's going to be somewhere else. Absolutely.
He ain't gonna be a Ford effing Ranger anymore, baby. He's going to get out of there.
But you're right. If your other fantasy managers are smart, they won't give you anything great for Schwarber, but you can get a Kyle Gibson and an Ian Anderson. You might be able to get an Adam Frazier if you're struggling up the middle, second, third, and short. I don't think he's going to be a Pirate for much longer, but he's been very, very productive in Pittsburgh.
You're going to go after Ian Anderson, get him now because he's pitching in Cincinnati this weekend, so that could be a rough one. But when he goes up against the Mets next week, for some reason he always pitches well against New York. I don't know what the hell that is. But when he goes up against the Mets, and then right before the All-Star break, the Braves play the Marlins and the Pirates, he gets one or two starts in there. You're not going to be able to buy low anymore. So if you're going to go after Ian Anderson, you might want to try to ding that this morning.
I like it.
Yeah, no,
or wait for him to crap the better on the third inning and then go after him. What is it? Is it a 7 o'clock start tonight? Go after him around 8 o'clock.
No, they're on the early slate.
Oh, they are. Okay, so 5:30 Eastern. Start sending out your Ian Anderson.
Yeah, Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say who's next? What do we got next on here?
I think I'd like ready to jump into a DFS if you want to.
All right. I wasn't sure because sometimes I didn't. So I guess we're not going Abraham, correct?
No, I'm skipping Abraham Toro. That was my
that's
Mount Castle audible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I thought that's what you meant. I just wanted to make sure. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the DFS as that's the wrong one.
Every man should have skin in the game. His rep, his honor, fully on the line because it means all. You got to know.
All right, got to turn that down because YouTube will kick us off the freaking air quicker than slickety split with his singing around there. Where are we going? Where are we going with the DFS? You got the early set. You got 10 games. So you have what? You've got let me hit them real quick. You've got Phillies, Mets, Braves, Cincinnati, Seattle, White Sox, LA, Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, Washington, Miami, Baltimore, Toronto, Seattle versus the White Sox. I don't know if I already said that or not. Colorado, Minnesota, Kansas City, Texas, and I might have left one out. I think that was it. All right. So where are we going? What pitchers are you suggesting this week, Steven?
Well, I mean, first of all, Jacob deGrom's on the slate. He is 11,400, but what he's doing this season, he is the best pitcher in baseball, possibly going on one of the best stretches in baseball history. They may limit him with like all the injury concerns he's had in the past few weeks, maybe like 6 or 7 innings, but he's been so dominant that he should have value at like even at this price, no issue.
So if you grab him, that means you got to save money somewhere else. Is it going to be the second starting pitcher, or are you going to try to save money, throughout your lineup and like have a bunch of bums in there?
Well, no, what I was going to say is, I mean, I'm never going to tell anybody to not play DeGrom. I actually prefer Lance Lynn here at 9,600. He's pitching at home against Seattle. Seattle is, let's see, on the season, they have a top 3 strikeout rate against right-handed pitching. And actually in the past month, they are 6th, I believe. And Lance Lynn has just been straight dominant at home this season. 1.61 ERA, 66 strikeouts in 56 innings. But like 230 WOBA allowed, less than under one whip. I mean, that's just like, that's the no-brainer there. Saved the 2,000 off DeGrom. Some other pitchers I like. I have some interest in Alex Cobb and Shane McClanahan. I think that's going to be a lower scoring game, and I think there's some real sneaky upside there. Actually, Alex Cobb, would not have thought this going into the slate at all. The only person that has a higher strikeout rate than him is DeGrom on this slate. For some reason, he is just dominating this year.
Yeah, but does his 5 ERA scare the hell out of you? Say, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Or are you thinking, okay, he's playing Tampa, so they don't really realistically have, I wouldn't really call that offense lightning in a bottle. So
Tampa's offense is good, but they also have the highest strikeout rate against right-handed pitching, like on the season and over the past few weeks.
It's in Tampa, so probably more runs than if it were in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Of Anaheim.
Oh yeah, 100%. A couple of the pitchers I'm looking at are Ryu pitching at home against Baltimore. A little bit worried there about the matchup in the stadium, but I still like the strikeout potential. And then someone else we talked about earlier, Kyle Gibson, 6,500 against Kansas City. He has been double-digit points in every start this year, but his first start, which happened to be against Kansas City, 5 runs in 1/3 of an inning.
That was literally opening day.
I know, but it's just
but
it's just the fact that it's against the Royals. It just it burns that image in your brain.
It does. Like you see, they go, "Whoa, what do they know that no one else knows?"
But even still, at 6,500, I love the upside there. Like if you can, Kansas City was not anywhere near as hot as they were to start the season.
Yeah, that is super concerning. Gibson's in my DFS lineup for the day. You covered a lot of pitchers, so I'm not going to cover. I'll cover some hitters, but the thing about the Royals is if you haven't seen the Royals a lot lately, I mean, they haven't hit water lately. If they dropped off the top of the Titanic, I mean, they can't hit a lick. The only guy in that lineup that's hitting anything is Santana, and you can pitch around him. So, it's pretty much just him and Perez and nobody else. So I love Gibson today at 6,500. I'm going to drop in on a couple of hitters really quick. Adam Frazier at 4,200. You can get him at second base or at shortstop. He's having just a really, really underappreciated season. Again, that comes with being part of a Pittsburgh lineup that's not very good. And most of those parts are going to get sold off. But him and Brian Reynolds are basically the only guys doing anything in that lineup, and they're doing the majority of it. Not a lot of power, but you're not going to run into a situation in DFS where he gets you nothing or 1 point. He's always good for 5, 6, 7, and here and there you'll run into a game where he drives in a 3-run homer and gets you a little bit higher. The other one I'm going to mention really quick, you mentioned the Kansas City Texas game. Adolis Garcia had a little bit of a dry spell there for about a week and a half. He was striking out a lot. People were really just forcing him to extend the zone. He's heated up the last 4 to 5 games, and he's facing Chris Bubic, who's the probable starter against Kyle Gibson today. Bubic's, nice young pitcher, got a real electric fastball. But if you haven't seen him pitch yet this year, he lives in the zone a lot. He throws really hard. And every Adolis Garcia game I've watched this year where somebody throws hard in the zone, those balls tend to become souvenirs in Texas real quickly. So I love his matchup today. And he's only 4,900. His value has been a little bit depressed by some of his strikeouts. And I'm going to not contradict myself, because I did say to sell Schwarber in regular fantasy. But in DFS, he's only 4,600. And I mean, if he does it even for one more game, especially against, who Miami's trotting out there. I've never even heard of this poor person, Zach Thompson. If, right-handed pitcher, not a lot to write home about so far this year in a couple of starts.
Hey, don't hate on Thompson. I had to stream him.
Well, I'm just saying, Schwarber's 44.
He's
32.
actually had a couple of decent starts. Steven, were you able to catch either one of those starts? You being a Miami fan?
No, I got the games. I still have to get my VPN set up.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, I saw part of one. I'm not gonna lie and tell you that I was locked into the Marlins last start, but he's okay. He's got a good strikeout rate, but I do get I get what you're saying. Kyle Schwarber could light his ass up.
I'm just saying, ride him till he bucks you. I mean, the last 4 games, 44, 34, 32, 22. That's come on, you got to get on the train at some point. It's filled with gold. So, when it finally stops paying out, then you get off. But this is the definition of a hot run. So Schwarber at 4,600 is really good value.
Oh no,
that's all I got for today.
And I'm even to put that price into context. I mean, just I'm about to talk about the Blue Jays a little bit, but Guerrero 6,200, Bo Bichette 6,000, Marcus Simeon 5,600. So I mean, yeah, 4,600 for Schwarber with what he's been doing. He is, like I said, like Sean said, he's one of the hottest hitters on the planet right now. You ride that train until it like goes off the rails. But one of my basically this whole slate stack wise depends on Toronto. They have the highest total by far, 6.46 runs. The next closest is Milwaukee with 5 runs. I mean, they're facing Keegan Aiken, really hasn't been that good this year. Got George Springer back in the lineup. He's one person I'm really looking to throw in there. He's still only 3,700. I have a feeling that's going to be a lot higher in the next few days. I mean, he's normally a $5,000 to $5,500 player. So, I mean, lock him in at 3,700. 2 other players I like in this lineup, Lourdes Gurriel and Teoscar Hernandez. They both hit left-handed pitching really well, and Teoscar is at 47 and Gurriel is at 36. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to tell you to leave Vladdy out. Vladdy is, I mean, one of the best hitters in the game. I'm never going to tell you. I'm never going to say leave him out of a Blue Jay stack, but no, I like them. I'm liking Cincinnati today against Ian Anderson. Looks like Atlanta's getting more attention, so Cincinnati could be a good leverage spot.
And I'll tell you what, I definitely like stacking some Braves against Castillo in the Great American Small Park. He's going to give up some fly balls. Acuna, Freddie. I'm not saying go nuts and have Kevin Smith out there in your lineup, but I'm just saying that the top of the order should pound the hell out of Castillo.
Oh no, I mean I agree with that, but the only issue with them is Freeman 5,300, Acuna 55, Albies 52. It's a lot
well, Albies might be a little high, but I mean that falls in line. Freddie Freeman, for people I haven't been paying attention to, he's gained like 30 points in his batting average over the last few weeks. Okay,
yes, he has.
Because I was famously complaining about the 222 batting average, blah, blah, blah. He's hitting almost 260 now. So he's starting to catch it. Even the ones that are getting caught, he's hammering. I'll tell you what would be a sneaky play if you're thinking crazy. Almonte 3,100 against Castillo. He'll most likely play today because he is a switch hitter. And with Heredia slamming into the wall last night, though he played the rest of the game, you don't know what the lingering effects are going to be today. So that could be Inciarte out in center and Almonte in. I mean, if you really want to go crazy, Inciarte had a home run the other night.
And I am all above the Almonte train. Like the other side I write for DFS. They have we have a pretty big infatuation with him. He's called Abe Ruth in our group. And I mean, basically, if he's in the lineup, he's being played.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of pop, which is why I think he stays so low, but he gets on base, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's his big calling card. He's a little misplaced in the Atlanta offense, their offensive lineup, but that's just old snitty ball, as me and Sean call it.
Snitty ball.
Yeah.
You can't do nothing but old snitty ball. He'll have power, slap hitter, power. And you're like, what the hell are you doing over here, man? But I think Almonte really is more deserving to be either a 2-hitter or down towards the bottom of the lineup to keep it rolling and flip it over. Because realistically, his game, which I wish more players would do this, is he does this weird thing and he watches pitches and waits for his, right? He does this weird thing as opposed to just trying to ambush everything and slam it out the building and goes, strike 3. Well, I was trying to hit.
So he's doing a Yasmani Grandal.
Yeah. He would have been a star on the 98 Yankees, man. Almonte would have been on the left field. He would have been a star because they'd have been like, this is what we're talking about. You see a minimum of about 5 or 6 pitches every at bat, which means what? By a second, third time through, he's seen this pitcher. Because
you and I have exchanged some text messages about how much I like Almonte. He's one of those guys that's
but those
much better.
In case children know.
Stop it. He's a much better real life player than he is a fantasy player. I'll mention one more Brave just to give McGee another chance to make fun of me and make jokes. Dansby's only 3,600. Those beautiful blue eyes. I mean, he could drive in 9 tonight. Who knows?
They're brown. I just looked it up. They're brown.
I didn't know. As you said something about his eyes earlier. I didn't even know what color.
Well, evidently you're
Yes, they
staring
were.
at his ass. I don't know what's going on.
Stop it. Knock it off.
All right.
I got one more team to mention. Like if you want to be ballsy and try to fit in DeGrom and Lance Lynn into your lineup, one way you could do that is using the Marlins. Corbin has looked better the past couple starts, but Marlins really got to John Lester last night. I think what was it, 11 runs? But everybody on the most expensive Marlin is Starling Marte at 4,300, and between him
and a fairly similar pitcher too. It's really weird that they would put them back to back because they're soft tossing lefty. I know Corbin has a little better fastball, but he's more of a junk pitcher than he is.
He lives off his slider. If it's not coming in for strikes, he's.
I think when they signed him, they thought he was a little more of a power pitcher, but he's not. Into that $138 million, 72-mile-an-hour slider coming at you, baby. Let's go. All right, let's go ahead and get into the. Well, I can't. Here it is. Playing some pepper. So fantasy football is realistically here. You can start your leagues. You can mock draft, all that kind of stuff. I usually wait till after the 4th of July before I start actually mock drafting, but got some questions for you. First of all, baseball related question. How many starting pitchers do you think, Sean, the Boston Red Sox will trade for at the deadline? Putting the over under at 1.5.
I will say over. I think there will be more than one.
Same question to you, Steven, but the New York Yankees over under 1.5 starting pitchers.
I want to say over.
So when we're looking at these year-long fantasy lineups, we have to keep that in mind. Is it not only could you have a guy that's about to go to the bullpen, Domingo Germán, or you could have a guy who's sitting like a Kyle Gibson that's about to go wear pinstripes. So keep that in mind when you're making trades and whatnot over the last few weeks. But anyways, fantasy football. God, I can't wait. I'm looking very forward to the Nashville in-person draft that we're all going to do. That should be a lot of fun. I'm getting a lot of I'm getting more and more of our invitations what do you want to call that? Verified. So we should have a pretty good group up there in Nashville. But fantasy football, and we're just talking about a normal league, not a keeper, dynasty, anything like that. If you have your druthers, Sean, would you rather have the number 1 pick or the number 10 pick in a 10-team draft? So you're going to back-to-back regardless. But would you rather have the best player on the board, or would you rather have the number 10 pick?
It's totally personal preference, but if those are my only 2 choices, I would much rather have the number 10 pick. I'm much more of a roster depth matters more than what you do at the top of the draft. That's just my personal opinion.
Same question to you, Steven.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I love having the back-to-back picks in the first, second round instead of having to get the first one, but then have to wait till the end of the second to get your next player.
Yeah, it's agonizing to watch those guys come off the board and know that there's nothing you can do about it.
It's interesting to me that is the popular opinion, because I saw a poll the other day, and that is the popular opinion that people would rather be at the back of the draft, which is so funny because there's always such a big argument about who the number 1 pick is. What the hell does it matter if you'd much rather be in the back of the draft, right? Okay, similar question, 10-man draft. Sean, I can give you the number 5 pick, so you're going to get a pick every 10 picks after that, right? Or I'll give you the number 8 pick, which means you'll obviously have some control, and you'll only have 4 in between when you pick. You're going to have 4 picks go in front of you, and then you'll pick again. Which would you prefer?
Yeah, I'm definitely a middle of the round guy. And again, I've always built my teams for depth, because you're going to have injuries and you're just going to have unexpected things that happen. But I would rather
pick once every 10 picks and not as opposed to knowing that you're going to get almost back-to-back picks. You would rather just be more dead center.
I would, because you get more time to think between picks and kind of analyze what your next move is going to be. Do you go best player available? Do you have a position of need that you're looking at? Sometimes if your picks are too close together, maybe this is just me personally, if my picks are too close together, I tend to get too locked into best player available, and then find myself in a situation where I'm like, oh, I've only, my receiving core looks great, but my running backs are, Darrell Henderson and Josh Jacobs, and now all the depth is gone. I might have a problem here. So, just my personal preference.
All right, Steven, I'll pose that to you, but I'll change it up just a little bit. You can have the number 5 pick, or you can have the number 9 pick. So in other words, you're sitting there almost back to back, but you do have to deal with one guy that's going to be going back to back in front of you. Would you have 5 or 9?
That really is a tough one. Like if it was 5 and 8, I was going 5, but I'm gonna go 9 here. I kind of like having the just about back to back. It still gives me some control.
I really like it if I really know the guy that's going back to back, if I know him pretty well, right?
Yeah.
If I can, like, all right, well, this guy always drafts Jaguars, I don't have to worry about this idiot, right? Or you're like,
you don't have to call Tony out like that. That's mean.
Or the guy goes, or that this guy is always going to, if you've played in several years with him, that he's going to go, he's a running back whore heavy first. So so you're like, okay, if I grab a running back now, this guy's going to try to go back to back, and that's going to leave me the best receiver available. Right. So I'm with you. I like to be towards the back of the draft or towards the front of the draft. I hate being like 5 or 6. I just do. I just always like, oh God, here we go. Got it. Because it doesn't matter what you pick. You're like, man, he took my guy. And one last one before we jump on out of here. You're in an auction league and you have your typical auction settings, whatever. How many big names are you willing to pay for? And I'm talking about if you're going to get them at the normal rate. I'm not talking about something outlandish where you overpay or you get like a steal at the end of the draft. I'm talking about at the beginning of the draft, and we'll say a typical bank is around $200, give or take. How many guys are you willing to pay for that? What is it last year? Between like $50 and $60 was the typical. Steven, how many guys are you willing to go out there and say, I want to have 2, 3 bigger names? Obviously, if you go 4, you've absolutely crapped the bed. But how many are you?
Like if we're talking big names, we're talking first rounders. I'm very conservative in auction drafts, and I'll be lucky to get 1. Because I'll pass on the first rounder, and I usually will end up with 4 to 5 second to third rounders. And for like that works out a lot better for me. And it even goes to Sean's point about preferring the roster depth. It's good to have the best player on the team, but if he goes down like Christian McCaffrey did last year, if you don't have the squad to back it up, it doesn't matter how good your best player is.
Would that change if one of the top guys was a Miami Dolphin?
No.
Like if all of a sudden tomorrow we wake up and Deshaun Watson has become a Miami Dolphin.
Nope.
That might be a bad example. Because you're like, oh great, I get him, but he doesn't play till week 10. Sean, what about you? How many big names are you willing?
Yeah, it's not a majority opinion by any means, but Trosh and I have had this conversation off air. My number's usually 0. I usually don't get anybody within the first 15 to 18 picks because I just don't think that's where the draft is won. It's usually the middle of the second round or into the third. We always see these teams. Last year it was, I forget who it was. I don't remember if it was Doug or Justin, but it was definitely somebody punched themselves out in like the first round and a half.
Well,
and they had a bunch of really good
draft.
Those auto draft
might have been on auto draft, sure, and that's again that's a consideration, but. Every auction.
By the way, they should put that in the algorithm somewhere of the fact that don't spend $180 of a $200 budget within the first 3 rounds. Right.
But even in baseball drafts, I'm not gonna turn this into a hockey podcast because I'll go real deep on the value of Jeff Bukaboom in fantasy hockey about 15 years ago. But
nobody's fantasy hockey.
I know, except for me. I got it. But every auction I've ever done,
congratulations, you win your one-man league every year.
Every auction I've ever done, someone punches themselves out in the first 20 picks and has almost no money to spend and sees a lot of value leave in those middle rounds. So I'm a 0. I can't tell you the last time I spent $40, $50, $60 on somebody in the first round. I just don't do it.
All right. That's interesting because a lot of ways to win, and the guys that go heavy early, a lot of them tend to win the leagues, but you can win without it. Is it just because you hate the fact that at the end of the draft, you have no control? Is that what it really comes down to?
No, not really. I just think there's.
In other words, you like having the control at the end of the draft because you can outbid most of the guys that went in and got, we'll just say like this year, like a Derrick Henry or Devontae Adams or something like that, right? And you're at the end of the draft and you can afford the third, fourth rounders, fifth rounders, et cetera, et cetera. They can't. Because to me, that's one of the drawbacks of going in deep early is the fact it's not that I feel like I've put too much talent into a few picks. It's the fact that when I get to the end of the draft and these guys can cherry pick, that kind of sucks.
It's not even at the end of the draft. I mean, a lot of times it's 6th, 7th round, and like I've already got more money, and it's like whoever anybody bids on, I have that extra $2 to $3 a player to bid on them. That scares a lot of people out. So I mean, it helps out all throughout the draft.
Right. He'll be tight end 1 this year, but a good example is I want to say it was maybe the 4th or 5th round, and I don't know if it was one of our leagues. I don't think it was. I think it was in the ESPN league I did. A guy punched himself out and spent a lot in the first round, and then wanted to try and bid with me for Darren Waller, who was not he was not tight end 1 going into last year. He was tight end 3, 4, 5, depending on where you had the rankings. And I ended up getting him for I think around somewhere between $17 and $21. And I mean, on his production, he should have gone for 30, which is, what people were spending on Kittle and Kelsey last year. So it's just a matter of, I don't like to punch myself out in the first round. And again, it took me 18 years to win a fantasy league in football. It's well documented. I've talked about it several times, but I won 2 last year. And I'm just a big believer in the depth of a roster is more important than the superstars at the top. Because especially with the offensive game now in football, you can find value in rounds 4 through 8 that are going to save you money and produce at least a composite level to guys in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round.
Just like Justin, the microscope will be on you this year because your asterisk championships, people are going to questioning
asterisk championship.
You won it during COVID with no bite, and there is a big difference, my friend. There's a big difference when people aren't paying for money. That's all I know.
Okay.
Did you make an actual trophy for his or no?
No, because there's no money. There's no money in it. I'm not paying for anyone's trophy. There's no money in it. I want a couple. I didn't buy a trophy for me either. I'm like, what the hell's the point? Just helps my what do they call it? My Yahoo rating. Which is about about as much as that damn trophy we get. The live in-person draft, that one's gonna be fun, and that one's gonna be I'm really looking forward to that.
Might have to see me and Doug at opposite ends of the table. I don't need to get knifed in between rounds.
I seriously doubt Doug's gonna be there, so unless he flies in or something, I don't see Doug being in this one. So it'll be half the people will be from Jacksonville, other half will be from Middle Tennessee. It looks like Brad Shelton will be there, so that'll be a lot of fun.
Okay.
I'm trying to get Billy Bills there too, Sean. So that could be a lot of fun. We'll see with his. That may not be as easy to get done, but we'll see what happens. Sean, what is your walk-off for the day?
Yeah, my walk-off is keep an eye on your weather alerts. There's a chance of precipitation in Detroit, Minnesota, and Chicago today. So just keep an eye on those. Hopefully it doesn't rain anything out. And if it doesn't rain anything out, there's a doubleheader in Detroit today. So if you can get them in your DFS
pitch. So do a non-ring dance.
If you can get them in your lineup that they weren't available in our contest, grab as many Astros as you can for that second matchup against Freddie Peralta. Because folks, if you haven't seen batting practice in a real 9-inning game, you're going to see it in the second half of the Tigers doubleheader today. Because is he not good?
Steven, what's your walk off, sir?
It's my last warning. Go get Luis Castillo while you can.
Oh Lord. Who's more obnoxious, me with Dansby Swanson or Trosh with Luis Castillo?
Me with Jacob deGrom.
I don't
know.
I don't know. We're gonna have some kind of montage with music in the background with him and Castillo.
I'll work on that. I'll find you something.
So my walk off for the day is Luis Castillo will not be on Steven Trosh's roster by the next time we speak. I said I've had enough. Programming note, y'all, we will not have a show next weekend because it's 4th of July. Figure everyone was going to want to recharge their batteries. So we'll be off next Saturday, and we'll be back the following, whatever the hell the date that is. The 10th. Okay. So yeah, July 10th, which will be right before the All-Star break. So there you have that.
Beautiful.
We will see you next Saturday on the not next Saturday, not next Saturday, 2 Saturdays from now on the Payoff Pitch, and Sean and I will see you this coming Wednesday on the Armchair Quarterback Show. Have a great day, y'all, and good luck in your DFS lineups, except for you two.